Hello, everybody. This is Chris McAdoo. As always, honored to be with you and honored to be in your ears for the Big Ideas Welcome podcast. Honored to be here with Noam Rotem from Dig Robotics.
Hi.
Noam, will you introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about your company, Dig Robotics?
Sure. So I'm Noam. I'm CEO and co-founder of Dig Robotics. We are developing a smart sensor device for excavation machinery in order to analyze and optimize the operation. So some people coined the phrase a Fitbit for your excavator.
All right. Well, so you have studied in Israel. You've grown up in Israel. You've studied
Correct.
there.
Yes,
so,
sir.
and you've come to the United States just a little over actually just in March, right?
Yes, sir.
March of 2024. But you founded Dig about 10 months ago.
Correct.
This is your second time around the entrepreneurial sun. Tell us a little bit about your first company.
Yeah. Second time around. Definitely really enjoy the challenges of being an entrepreneur. In 2019, I founded my first tech company called Syracuse. Syracuse was developing operator assistance and autonomous technology for tower cranes on construction sites. We raised about $2.5 million for the company. We ran the company, myself and my co-founder, Dr. Medina, up until beginning mid-2022 when we sold the company off. Took a few months to think what we want to do. Came to the conclusion that we really enjoy the challenges of being entrepreneurs. And we just decided to go at it again. And as you said, we founded Dig Robotics about 10 months ago. We've been working on the project since.
Wow. And I guess, so talk about having a co-founder. I think this is, for your second time around, it's a very interesting thing because all too often entrepreneurs are sort of afraid of living in this particular box where they're by themselves. So how does your co-founder, how do you guys balance each other out? Like, what skills do you bring to the table and what skills do they bring to the table?
Wow. That's a big question. Honestly, I've been blessed. I've been lucky that I have a co-founder and a partner that is very patient and very calm, and he completes me, right? So we're very different in personality. We do very different things at Syracuse, our past startup, and at Dig Robotics. And we work very well together. And I think we're wise enough to accept each other for both our abilities and our contribution, but also to kind of not get too hung up on what the other person maybe isn't doing or not contributing. So maybe just not too far from having a partner in anything in life.
So being able to grow along with each other as founders and entrepreneurs, but then also being able to pivot at the same time when something needs to change, to being open to that and having a sounding board. How powerful is that?
Oh, it can be very lonely being an entrepreneur. Even when you have a co-founder or co-founders, it is very, I would say it's a lonesome endeavor. It's helpful having somebody that you can share your difficulties or your ideas. And there are way more patches of difficulty and challenges than successes. So you need to basically, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I'd say that you need to be emotionally strong enough to be able to get up every morning with a lot of self-motivation and optimism, even though you know that probably the chances that something significantly positive is very small.
Well, it's sort of something's always going wrong. Almost all the time,
I would say sometimes things go right. I think that would be maybe a more proper kind of way of phrasing it.
Well, let's think about how things can go right with what is the focus of Dig Robotics.
Okay.
And so I think one of the important things about the technology that you are working on is that it measures essentially the effectiveness, the productivity, the levels, like you said, a Fitbit for your equipment. It measures it in action.
Yes, sir.
How important is it that these machines get that measurement stress tested in the environment in which they work versus a lab?
Yeah, so I think it's important to emphasize preliminary that with all of the issues that manufacturers and operators might give to the machine itself, the most significant single factor impacting the performance of a machine is the human operator. So you could have two operators working identical machines side by side, which have more or less the same experience and technical level, but the difference in performance could be 3 times in terms of productivity or the amount of diesel that they're consuming. So there's a big difference between operator and operator. And even if you're a super experienced operator, it's really difficult with the kind of mundane nature of this work, working the machine to its utmost performance, scoop after scoop, hour after hour, day after day. So even for experienced operators, it's hard, and obviously even way more for novice operators that are coming on. So with Dig Robotics, with our Fitbit device, we're really trying to both monitor the performance of that machine and the operator, but also to provide him, as he's working that machine, provide him guidance so he's able to make sure that that machine is working to its utmost capabilities with every scoop. So it's basically get that bucket full every time, but do so in less time and less diesel consumption.
Well, let's talk about, so we're talking about more productivity, more efficiency, and a more empowered operator.
Correct.
So more, and more. Let's talk about the power of less. So tell me about what you're trying to understand about those fuels, those emissions, those things that,
right. So operating these machines, they are consuming tremendous amount of diesel, right? A machine like this could be consuming easily between 10 to 15 gallons of diesel an hour. That's not only a tremendous expense for the earth moving or the contractor or whomever is operating those machines, but honestly, that is also producing a tremendous amount of emissions. On a global level, excavation machinery is producing about 2% of global emissions, which is on par with commercial aviation. And we hear a lot of people talking about, about why is Taylor Swift taking a private jet, but nobody's talking about the fact that you have, a wheel loader working next to your kindergarten for 8 hours a day, and that's producing maybe 5,000 times the amount of the pollution that cars driving by are doing. So it's an issue. Some companies are more minded, so maybe some of the bigger construction companies are taking notice. And I think generally people are looking more into being green, right? Reducing their emissions. And that's definitely something that's becoming more and more, people are becoming more and more conscious about.
Yeah. What do you see as the growth potential for not just for Dig Robotics, but really for the industry that you are serving? Because certainly with population increasing, I think even here, Knoxville, Tennessee, right? I mean, we're going to be up 30% next year. So there's not going to be any shortage of projects over the coming years. What do you see as the trajectory for the industry and for the opportunity for technology like yours?
Yeah, so excavation as an industry doesn't tend to get a lot of focus. It's one of those things that real people do, right? It's a kind of a real job. It's a real industry, but it doesn't seem to get the same hype as other maybe industries that are into tech. Basically, somebody told me if we don't grow it, we excavate it, right? So excavation is both responsible for producing a lot of the raw materials that we need. If you want to have an EV car, you need somebody to excavate the material to make those batteries. So we're excavating a lot to get raw materials, which is a big thing here. Even here in the US, you have a lot of open mining and quarry operations where we want to have Dig Robotics installed. Those are the big machines that might be going through $1 million just in diesel a year. And obviously, the U.S. is, I think it's booming in terms of construction, both residential, commercial, but also infrastructure. So every construction project will always start with excavation. So if you're building a one-story residential building and you want to have your basement and your foundation, so there's an excavation machine there. Maybe it's a backhoe or wheel loaders or a small excavator where we want to be installed. And if you're building, right, large state intersection, highways or intersections, then those are big projects where you have bigger machines, and we want to see Dig Robotics installed on those machines as well.
Awesome. If someone listens to this interview and sees you speak, what is one key takeaway that you know you want people to remember?
That's a tough question, right? It's hard to kind of focus one thing there. Well, we are currently here in Knoxville. We actually plan to set up our operations here in Knoxville or East Tennessee. Our focus is on the U.S. market, and if you are in the business of excavation, be it a dealer for the machines, a rental company, if you are operating these machines and you're looking to both boost your productivity and reduce your cost of operation, come down to center of Knoxville, come meet us, and let's talk. We're really interested to hear what are your needs and discuss how Dig Robotics could potentially help you achieve your targets.
So, Noam, when someone wants to learn more about Dig Robotics, where do they go?
Oh, we're really happy when people just log into our website. It's digrobotics.com. There is a contact me button, and that will allow you to send an email, which gets to me directly, and I will get back to you personally. We're really happy when people reach out, and we're happy to talk to people.
Awesome. And what has it meant for you to come here, especially coming from Israel? What has it meant for you to come here to Knoxville and be part of the Techstars program? And not only that, but to be part of the entrepreneurial sort of ecosystem that we have built here?
So coming from outside Tennessee, it's you don't expect Tennessee to have such a substantial tech environment. We know New York and Boston, Bay Area and California. Tennessee has not yet reached such international acclaim as those areas. But I have to say that generally I was pleasantly surprised and impressed, both with the number and quality of entrepreneurs, but also generally just the interest that the greater Knoxville, Tennessee community sees in supporting entrepreneurship, but also people coming from outside Tennessee or the U.S. My experience has been very positive, I have to say.
Awesome. Well, Noam, Dig Robotics, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for continuing to do the work that you are doing.
Thank you very much for having me.